Hey there, friends and fans of Flying Chariots, The Rise. I am your host, Daniel, and today I'm delving into the mysterious world of cryptids and beyond. Unfortunately, my co-host and good friend Dustin is hard at work today, but the adventure continues, friends. Join me and today's guest, Bob Dahl, on a journey into the uncharted territories of the unknown. Bob, initially drawn to Bigfoot encounters through captivating stories, transformed his curiosity into an unshakable connection to the cryptid realm. He not only explores the elusive Bigfoot, but delves into the unknown, fascinated by other cryptids, UFOs, and everything strange. His curiosity led to the creation of his very own podcast, where he unraveled the mysteries that kept us wide-eyed and intrigued. So guys, grab your favorite beverage and follow us into a realm of cryptids and high strangeness. And don't forget to subscribe for weekly adventures and discussions that will keep you questioning the mysteries that surround us. With me is Bob from the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast, and I was looking for people who have experiences with the paranormal or with UFOs and other phenomena or anomalies. And you got in touch quickly, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to tell me. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do, Bob.
Oh, yeah. I go by, my moniker is Bobby Dizzle, which you don't have to call me that, but it just happened to be when I was trying to find an Instagram handle a long time ago. It was the only thing that would go through. And so I just took it. Maybe I'm supposed to be called that. And so I started liking podcasts like in 2015, 2016. And so I'm going to start my own. I started researching and finally buying all the equipment. And here I am. And like I told you earlier, I niched down from everything in my mom's basement style podcast. And now I'm just doing, I think it's 70, 30, 80, 20 Bigfoot. It seems like people respond to. I put something with Bigfoot out there, 1,000 views. I put something with a ghost on there, maybe 100. Even though I have to do UFO and ghost to cleanse my palate a little bit, because I'll start going through like an existential crisis if all I talk about is Bigfoot for weeks at a time. And I started out just liking to hear stories. I told you about my friend Randy who lived in Germany, stationed there. I had him on. All we talked about was Germany, and then I had World War II veterans on. I've had stand-up comedians, moderately famous ones too. I mean, they're doing well. One of them's been on Amazon, and the other one's on Spotify a lot. But those didn't get a response, and so I niched down to just mostly Bigfoot stuff, because it's I could talk about it all the time, and I don't know why. I don't know why it interests me so much. I read a book in 5th grade that had a story on it, and that's when it started. And I don't know why it just took. Like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I've even got a hat. I didn't even buy this hat. Somebody gave it to me. Whatever. That's just what I am. I'm just I'm a Bigfoot dude now, I guess. But yeah, I just like doing a podcast. I do one every week. Sometimes I record 3 times a week. I'm trying to make it my career by researching everything. And one day, after I get this up, 10,000, 100,000, I sell that to make my own little ad agency. Mm-hmm. But for right now, I'll hang out in the woods with some crazy folks and talk about it. That's what I like to do. I was always an outdoorsman, so this is really conducive.
Yeah. I love talking about Bigfoot too, especially since we don't have Bigfoot encounters here in Germany, unfortunately.
I'm shocked you don't.
No, we don't, man. We don't. There are people who say that they've seen some crazy creatures, but I don't think we have Bigfoot over here. I've seen you are connected with many people that I also know pretty well. Preston Dennett, who does great work when it comes to UFOs and abduction cases, or Calvin Parker, who unfortunately passed away.
Yep. R.I.P.
Yeah,
he was from Mississippi.
Yes, man. He passed away recently. I had the honor of doing an interview with him. Now, I think a year ago, we talked about the Pascagoula case. He told me everything. That was so cool, man. And you're also friends with Paul H. Smith, who worked in the US government's remote viewing program for several years. It's also very interesting. Remote viewing is also a very interesting topic. So
fun fact, my friend Randy, who I've talked about 3 times now, is his nephew.
Oh, Really?
Yeah, yeah, by
That's
marriage.
awesome.
But he was on the Joe Rogan Experience documentary about 10 years ago. Not the podcast, but he had a docu series,
Yeah.
and that's how I come to know him. And I just reached out. I was like, "Hey, your nephew Randy told me," and he's like, "Yeah, he came on. That dude was friendly as oh my gosh." I was like, "You don't know me, man. You're famous." You're just talking to him. He's like, "Let me get your name. We gotta ask. I gotta ask somebody something." Like I was like a reference for him somewhere else. All right. Yeah, he's a great dude. Paul H. Smith is a saint. I didn't expect him to be so open.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, I think he's a nice guy. Yeah. I also know somebody who knows him pretty well, and I'm looking forward for an interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started, you asked me if we were talking about aliens or Bigfoot. So but I guess I think we're
We could talk about Harry Potter for all that matters,
talking
but
about Harry Potter too. No. I guess we're talking about Bigfoot for a while here. So you're into Bigfoot research too. You're not only interested in hearing stories, but you're also
mm-hmm.
and you started with listening to Bigfoot stories, but you're into research too. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, the research, I've only been on one expedition. It was a 3 day long. It was with some moderately famous people who've been on who you probably heard of. You heard of Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress?
Yes, she was on a
She
podcast.
was yeah, she was there. Her and I and a couple other guys did like a scouting thing that day. She was on the trip. There was a couple other ones. I don't know. I know I can bring up Jessica because we talked about it on the internet, but yeah, it was a clandestine kind of. They have they're really careful with the research areas, and I was really impressed with that. Like I was shooting a video, and she's like, "This is funny," and I hope she's still not mad at me about it because it wasn't live, but I was going to post it. She goes, "We can't post stuff about where we research." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." Like I was about to put the whole hike on the internet just because I was just there. I thought they understood I was a social media guy, and I was like, but I'm glad she caught me before I did it. But it was great, and I went on their little scouting expedition for their run that night to do the night vision and everything, and they had some interesting evidence afterwards. We talked on the internet, but that was one, and then I've since went to a couple of places who don't have reports there or anything, but just look for sign that you hear about, and so I'm interested in seeing because there's a couple BFRO reports where I'm at. I was going to go places near that and see if there was any kind of sign that's not just regular run of the mill trees falling and see what that's about. So I'm getting into it. I've been to a convention. I met a bunch of people, talked to a bunch of people. I think I'm going to start going out and doing little mini docs on places near BFRO reports to see if is what the potential is. Like if they do disappear somehow and can just appear in certain areas and they're not just a hidden monkey, like maybe there's a possibility they're in places that aren't as remote as one might think they would be.
What do you think Bigfoots are? Some people say there could be multi-dimensional beings or even aliens, or some others say, yeah, they're cryptids, like maybe apes or some kind of bears. What do you think they are?
I don't think they're a lost primate. I don't think they're just hidden. I think they're a humanoid of some sort. Everybody says they look like their uncle kind of thing. They look too human. But I do think they have some kind of power. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's supernatural or maybe just an evolved sense. Maybe they are a hidden ape that can do stuff. But I don't think they are just a mountain gorilla we haven't found.
Yes.
When I ask people who actually have been on the ground, when I ask people that have been on the ground with them, they'll say, we didn't start out believing in the woo, but we see things and it is what it is. It was basically like that. Like we're not saying they do this, but how do you explain what I just saw? Like I saw it do that. They did. Heard old men tell me just like, yeah, they disappeared in front of me and I saw one cloaking like the predator and appear out of a portal. And these people don't have any reason to lie. I mean, they're not going on TV shows and not trying to sell T-shirts or anything. That's just what happens to them. So I think they're a humanoid ape-like, maybe, that they are flesh and blood when they're here, but they have some kind of ability. I don't know what kind of ability. They got something. They can use something. They can disappear. They can get into your mind, infrasound, mess with electronics. That's a big thing. Almost the biggest thing, I think.
Oh, tell me more about that. What do you mean when you say mess with electronics?
The blob squatches. People try to take video of them, and their game cameras mess up. They get like a picture of a hand on a game camera. They'll mess my video up. You take a video, you take a picture of one, and it's just nothing's there. I've even heard people tell me that they had a picture of one on their cell phone and it was gone when they got home. Just that kind of thing. Like their phone will mess up, go dead, come back, pictures gone. And so there's something to the joke. Like, is Bigfoot blurry? I think he could do something to make himself blurry. I don't know what. They could just have electromagnetic energy that naturally does that.
Yeah. It's the same with sometimes it's the same with UFO pictures or ghost pictures. It's the same. So this is why I think everything is connected to each other.
Same energy.
Yeah, same energy. Some theories suggest that Bigfoot could potentially move between, let's say, dimensions, or many people call it portals. I love stories about portals. Explaining their elusive nature. Some theories say that specific locations associated with levels of natural energy could serve as portals. These energy vortexes might allow Bigfoots to move, in and out of our dimensional reality. I think that's an interesting. I mean, it's crazy, it's weird, but it's a cool theory, I think.
I think it explains it more than the fact that we just haven't found them and they might live in a cave. If you want my honest opinion on, I think the only reason we don't know more about it is because a university can't put $1 billion toward that project.
Yeah,
and nobody can get a grant. It's just people who are on the fringe, like me or like the guys I've met in North Georgia. You know, they got regular jobs and they do this on the side, so they don't have like millions of dollars of funding. But you see what's happening with the History Channel at Skinwalker Ranch. They're getting the funding to do that stuff, and they're finding this stuff. But they're not applying it. They're applying it to skinwalkers, which is, I think it's similar. I think it's going to be some adjacent data.
Yeah.
I think whatever they find out at Skinwalker Ranch can probably be drag and dropped over to the Bigfoot and UFO and ghost camp as well.
Do you really think that Bigfoot research should be funded like the UFO stuff over there where you at in the States? UFO topic is blowing off recently since Rush came out with his story, which is very interesting and also weird. But they should do the same with the Bigfoot research.
I think they should, honestly. I mean, I don't know. When I ask myself why I care about Bigfoot, I don't know why I care. That's what's weird. It's like I'm being made to care. I don't know what benefit it would get us if we knew about it, other than the fact that it's really, really interesting. But I do think it should be pursued. I think there's something there. I mean, we spend all this money to find out about pandas and red pandas and that the Tasmanian tiger. I mean, and they sent Willem Dafoe after him back in the day. And that's a movie joke. Not many people get, but it's funny, the ones that did.
Yeah.
the Willem Dafoe movie when he tracked down the Tasmanian tiger and shot it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, I think if it's out there, it would lead to something else. But maybe we as a species aren't supposed to hear it, aren't supposed to know it. Kind of like maybe there are some kind of watchers or angels. I think they should explore it. I don't think it would take much to find anything either, because people just find it by accident. I think if you tried and did the woo-woo investigations, for lack of a better term, I think something would come up pretty quick.
Yeah. I think that if they are reality, if there are Bigfoots, I think it could be very important to find out that they are real, because if they are here, I think they are in some way are a part of us, part of what we are. I don't know, even if they are some kind of aliens or multi-dimensional beings, it's even more important to find out what they are and where they're from, or do they belong here. It's even some people that had a high strangeness encounter, let's put it this way. Some people that had a high strangeness encounter, such as UFOs, Bigfoot, or the paranormal, or some other anomaly, they went through a spiritual or physiological change after that. So I find that very interesting too. People completely changed.
Also, there's a certain amount of people who only start seeing them after they get near-death experiences. I've noticed that people who have near-death experiences come back and they start seeing a lot of Bigfoot and have a lot of ghost experiences. I don't know who you know, so I might be talking about people you've met. Mike Colantonio, Long Island Bigfoot. He had one. He got hit by an IED in Iraq. Had a traumatic brain injury, and he came back and just experiences Bigfoot left and right. And he's on Long Island. He's in New York.
Oh wow.
Just in kind of places I was talking about that aren't widespread wilderness expanses. They got like 100 acres here, 100 acres there, in between neighborhoods.
Do you know stories about people who found evidence of Bigfoot? I'm interested in how they might live or how they get rid of their, you know, I
bodies. You're about to say the bodies.
Yeah, it's a standard thing. I know it's a standard question, but people think about that. Of course, it's natural to have that question in mind. Where the dead bodies? Where the bones? Even do they bury them?
Where are the bodies?
Yeah,
no one knows. It has to have something to do with that fourth dimension thing, man. That maybe they force ghost, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You strike him down, all of a sudden he just disappears. Or maybe that suit is kind of like a video game avatar when they come over here, and they're in our world, they're like Grand Theft Auto. They're a person there, but when they come back out, and if they die here, they just disappear. It could be that. I don't know. Anything's on the table, and I get really mad when people say, "Well, that's stupid." I'm like, well, there's no evidence otherwise. I mean, everything's the same common denominator. Every hypothesis is the same, has the same weight, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You're starting from the finish line. You don't know what's going to be the end result. Or starting from the starting line, you don't know what the end result is. So how can you say?
What do you know about Bigfoot communication?
No, they do tree knocks and a lot of whoops.
Yeah.
And they imitate owls and songbirds a lot. They'll mess up something and they'll sound like a stupid owl. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's like a monkey trying to do an owl kind of thing. There's a phenomenon called the bionic bird that they'll do, and it sounds like an electric bird.
Oh.
And you'll hear it, and you're like, I hear that all the time. And I had a recording of it. My friend Glenn Jackson used to be a researcher. He still is, but he had a recording of it from a place, and he said he cornered one behind some brush, and it was throwing all the bionic birds out it could. And then he turned around and he heard it take off through the woods, and they went back there and found like footprints and stuff.
Do you still have any doubt that Bigfoot exists?
I'd be dumb if I didn't, but it's fleeting more and more by the day. I mean, just people you talk to, they're not lying. The people I've talked to aren't lying about it. The benchmark cases in my head, the Randy Bauer from Black Duck, Minnesota, and David Parker from Missouri with his cast and his rocks and his hair. And people that say like, well, I saw him. They crossed the road, or one guy said he saw one kill a deer with its hands, just snap it like a chicken neck. Yeah, and he's not lying about it. He told it like I was sitting here talking to you. Jonathan Wadsworth, he's got a good one. Vermont or New Hampshire.
Yeah,
said it happened in 1982. It's just a lot of, and one of my best friends that I've met since doing this, named Roger Williams. He's from South Tennessee. He's just up the road here a little bit. He said he was in a place, and he said something made him stop walking and telepathically made him agree to leave before he could move again. Like seized his body up, couldn't do anything. And I know Roger. He's not crazy. He's just a regular dude. He drives public transit. He's just a regular person.
A lot of times when I hear Bigfoot stories, people tell me that they have seen orbs too. That's very interesting. Yeah. You know stories about that too? Some people see orbs, like orbs of different colors, like green orbs, blue orbs, gray orbs, yellow orbs. I don't know what these colors could mean, but people see them, and people see orbs, and then suddenly Bigfoot appears or disappears. So these orbs, and this is, I know it sounds science fiction-esque, but these orbs could be some kind of transportation, maybe.
I think it's a little vehicle of some sort.
Yeah.
I think it's how they move around, because you see ghosts do it too. Ghosts will appear in an orb, and all of a sudden. My favorite one is, I always go back to Randy in Minnesota. He was one of my first guests that I had that just like threw me for a loop. Went from wanting to hear stories to actually see him in person, like, instantly. And he saw a door open in the forest, like a square elevator door, and something that looked like the Aurora Borealis coming out of it. Then there was 2 orbs floated out about the size of a basketball, he said. And then he started hearing leaves crunching, like something was walking, and they materialized into a Bigfoot. The 2 orbs did. And he saw him walk over to a gifting rock, pick something up, or gifting area, walk back toward the elevator doors, the doorway portal and turned back into orbs and float away. And he's got 2 or 3 people that saw it, or I think just one other person.
Mm.
I've talked to both of them, and I talked to Randy a lot. He's if he's lying, they're coaching him.
Yeah.
Somebody's got his ear. He also sent me a picture, and I don't know if I still have it. I don't know if I can share it on here.
Beyond physical evidence, have you heard about any consistent, let's say, behavioral patterns in reported Bigfoot sightings that might offer clues to their social structure or how they live?
Well, there's the watchers. There's always that. Like there's one will distract you with the rock throwing, and you'll see him, and he'll walk in the trail and do the patty film, and that's to get the rest of the clan back to where they came from. A lot of that. They'll follow the strategy I was told is to, when you're on location where one might be around, to make a lot of noise. Don't try to treat it like you're hunting an animal.
Yes.
Make a lot of noise. Pretend like you're just hanging out with your family, and they'll come find you. That kind of thing. They're really curious. That seems to be a big theme. Is they're really curious of people. That's why they come around. You'll see the eye shine and the rocks gets thrown. Start making owl sounds. Woo, woo, woo. Coyotes.
What do you think? Why are they curious? They want to get rid of us? They want to observe us if we are dangerous to them, or what do you think?
I think they're curious. I think they do think we're dangerous because they know our intentions, kind of thing. Well, somewhere along those lines, I don't understand how, which I guess it's not meant for me to understand. But I think they know if the person comes in the woods and hairless monkey's got a bang stick, I think they're not going to go mess with him. But if they see us walking through the woods and we got backpacks on and we're just talking, like, oh, what are they doing? They don't have a stick. They're just walking around. So they'll look at them. You got the tree peekers. You always see the thermal. They're looking behind a tree.
Yeah.
A lot of thermal of that. I think they're just curious like an animal at first, or for the most part, but I think they do kind of see us as a threat because they see what we did to our planet.
Yeah.
So they don't they know if one of them ever gets a foothold, which tells me a lot. Either the government is keeping the ones that accidentally get shot, or it just doesn't happen. And I would think that when you hear about the Mount St. Helen thing with the dead bodies on the mountain there,
yes,
the Bigfoot graves, I think when you hear about that, you think the government probably can, if somebody calls the game warden, hey, I shot a monkey. The game warden is the hunting police, basically. I don't know if you know what that is, but I think it probably gets swarmed. I think you probably get shut down pretty quick, but I don't know how often that happens. Probably not that often.
Yeah, I always wonder.
Probably a tight lip.
I always wonder if the government. I'm not sure if the government knows about the Bigfoots or the government is involved. I really don't know. I'm not sure, but could be, of course. And I always think, what might happen? I know everybody wants to find a Bigfoot. I want to know what would happen if somebody really will find a Bigfoot, maybe dead or alive, cornered or trapped, or like I said, dead. I wonder what would happen if somebody would ever find a Bigfoot.
So that may be why so many people go missing on David Pilates' show. They may have found him, cornered him.
Do you think that some of these missing 411 cases are related to Bigfoots?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think there's more than it. Probably maybe not 100% one that did it, but I think the same phenomenon that maybe they exist in fourth dimension. I think it's related, if not directly related.
Mm-hmm.
If not, maybe they encountered one, got ripped to shreds, and got hidden. But maybe the same Skinwalker Ranch kind of thing led to the disappearance. Like did you see the missing 411 UFO connection?
Yes.
With the elk. Yeah, I think a lot of that was huge. That was one of the better ones.
Is there somebody out there who has a theory why people go missing related to Bigfoot or UFOs?
Other than David Pilates, I don't think there's anybody bigger.
Yeah.
I think he's it. I think that's where you start. I think the heavy work's already been done. He's already gathered all the information. And he did like a 100-hour documentary on YouTube about Bigfoot, but I couldn't watch it all. It's like 50 videos, 3 hours long. But damn, David. People got kids, man.
Yeah, damn, David. Calm down, man. Yeah.
Here you go. I found it, by the way.
Yeah, share it with
Here we
us.
go. Okay, so over here is Patty. We all know her.
Yeah, we know her.
And this is Randy from Minnesota's Bigfoot from a IR camera.
Oh,
This is
this
the
is the
same.
IR camera picture, right? And where
Mhm.
exactly was it again?
About 60 miles south of a Canadian border, Black Duck,
Okay.
Minnesota. That's from an IR camera that was taken. And
Mhm.
I happened to be watching a video on Patty one day, and I took that screenshot and shared it with Randy. I said, "Look at this." He goes, "Hell yeah, it's the same one." He goes, "That's the same back ridge. It's got the same elbows. You'll notice how it's like its hair is kind of rubbed raw right there. That's not a. We've looked at this so many times. It's not a bear. He's like, it's not. It ain't no bear." He goes, "Everybody says it's a bear. You just the head, the elbow. It's nothing. Nothing's bearish." But if he's got other pictures of the same place, and that's about 6 or 8 feet tall.
So the picture was taken by your friend's camera?
It may have been taken by Doug Highcheck, but it's on my friend's place.
Yeah.
I don't want to not credit Doug Highcheck because he may have been the one that took this, but it was on Randy's place. And he's got other pictures. I say I have. I've never even been to Minnesota. Other pictures of this same location with nothing there, and that's 6 or 8 feet tall.
And this was is this a photograph or was it taken from a video?
Yeah, this is a still frame.
A still frame from the video.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So and does the video show something? Yeah, I don't know, spectacular, some other interesting details, or is this the best shot?
Now I'm questioning if it's a still frame or not because I should have asked that too.
Okay.
I have to get back with you on that, but it could be I think it was just like the best shot they had.
Yeah.
I need to ask that because it could be a game camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it may be. It may be just a game camera because he would have the whole video on there if not.
But it's an interesting shot.
He called me out. Yeah.
It's an interesting shot. You see the back, you see to be honest, I see one elbow, the left elbow. I can see the left elbow. I can see with a little bit of fantasy. I can see the legs, and the back is very interesting because, like you said, it's similar to Patty's back in some kind of way. You can see the head, and you can see where the head is connected to the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like a bulge or something like that. It's also the same.
I've looked at pictures of bear from the back. Like I've watched a bunch of videos of bear walking around, and they don't look like that. Bear have a more distinct. They're straighter up because they got to kind of balance. They're not like a toddler.
Yeah,
a bear is. I mean, a bear can walk a ways on their back legs, but they're not. They don't have elbows like that. Bear is more like a bodybuilder. They're kind of out here.
Yes. Yeah. The arms are interesting. That's true. The arms are very interesting.
But that back fat is a smoking gun to me, though. I was like, holy crap.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but what is your opinion on Patty? Anyways, I'm not sure about that, to be honest.
I think it's very fun. It's a very fun subject.
Yeah.
But going off this, I think Patty's real. Going off, what else you hear? Maybe it was fake. I've talked to Daniel Perez, the Bluff Creek Bible guy. Mm-hmm. Patty's real. I mean, he went up there and looked and saw the place where it was. Robert Leiterman. I'm having him on. I don't know his name. Mm-hmm. Leiterman. Yeah, he wrote the book on Bluff Creek. Yeah, because they went back up there and rediscovered the site. If I had to put my money on it right now, I think Patty was real. Let me tell you what another piece of evidence. I had Eduardo Sanchez on, and he wrote and directed the movie Exist, like the best Bigfoot movie he'd ever played. It's amazing. And he said he doesn't know. He said his costume disintegrated that he made for this multi-million-dollar budget, and it was in 2014. He goes, I don't know how they would have done it in 1960.
Some people say that the leg muscles were moving when Patty walked, so you could see muscles moving. Like I said, I saw the video. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, it could be. Seems like sometimes, but the walk suspicious somehow. The walk, it's almost like a human walking, to be honest. But other than that, you're absolutely right. It's made very, very long ago. We all know costumes from back then. They didn't look too good back then.
The one that they tried to say was the suit looked nothing like it.
Yes.
Like, that's not it. It's not the same color. It was red.
Yes.
But I'm not, I'll be honest, I'm not as excited about Patty as I am about some people are. I could take it or leave it. I think the phenomenon is just as real with or without it. I think it's just it got a big push up front, so it's got like a big following.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately, Patty? Nothing. Just just something. It's like something to fall back on if you don't have anything else to talk about. And if anytime anybody talks about it on my podcast with any kind of authority, I always clip it out and post it because it gets a ton of views. That's what Patty's done for me.
Yeah.
But I could take your leave if that didn't exist, I would still be just as enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, Patty's still attracting people. That's true.
It doesn't excite me. I mean, I'll talk about it, but I'd rather talk about somebody that habituates with them here in, the States somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, Patty is part of the game. You have to accept that, of course. What do you think?
You can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it. No, you can't. What do you think of all these footprints that have been found? A few of them are very interesting, I think.
I think those are probably the best evidence we have. And because if we can't find a body and we can't, capture one in a cage, we got a footprint that proved it had mass, gravity affected it. And I think the only reason we find them is because they have to. They can't not leave a footprint. I think that's proof they're flesh and blood somehow. But they also, you'll see 10 or 8 footprints and then they'll just disappear. Like, where'd they go?
Yeah, people find one fucking footprint, one, and it's a right foot or a left foot, but no other foot. So that's strange. But that could be because we talked about it before. They appear and disappear somehow. Maybe that's why. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm really not sure. But it's
think about the orb story I told where they appeared and then started crunching and then floated back up and stopped crunching.
Yeah.
I mean, it answers a lot of the questions just right there, but you can't prove it. But which is the probably the worst part. They're not going to pose for a video. Yeah. And if you did, they're just going to mess your camera up. Not the joy you're looking for. Walk away.
Yeah. What do you think about other cryptids, like, for example, dogman? I didn't know dogman was such a big thing over there where you at. I heard stories about the dogman here in Germany. Of course, we don't have the dogman here in Germany. I heard the stories here in Germany, and I was giggling a little bit because I was thinking dogman, man, it already sounds a little bit kinky, but then I had somebody on my show and he told me about dogman, and he was very, very serious about it, like same as with Bigfoot. And he also provided me a footprint of a dogman, which also looked very interesting. And he said, man, the dogman research is similar to the Bigfoot research. And I didn't know that. I was a little bit ashamed because I didn't know, but what do you think about
you got to be in the dogman. That's the new posh thing to do. That's the cool kids on the block, dogmen. But we have a pretty famous dogman attack just about 3 hours from here. Probably the holy grail of dogman is Land Between the Lakes attack. And I don't know much about it, and that's why I'm not going to give many details, because if anybody dogman's watching this, they will go ape shit, because the dogman people are livid. I mean, it's worse. But basically, long story short, a long time ago, maybe the 40s, maybe the 60s, could have been the 80s, I don't know, a family was attacked and murdered in the Land Between the Lakes, and they never found them, or found them. They found, like, what's the word? Lacerated, mutilated. Sounds like a song I'm writing. Lacerated, mutilated. But yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Like, that's, if anytime you talk to anybody about dogman, they always go back to Land Between the Lakes.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones, you know her. She was her thing is they have armor on, like they've been in war. So I don't know. I haven't gone into it. It doesn't really spark my interest like the Bigfoot thing does, but I think I would be just excited if they caught a dogman as I would if they caught a Bigfoot. Like, I'll jump on it quick. Like, I'm ready to go. It just doesn't like crank my tractor like the Bigfoot does.
Yeah. That brings me back to the question which I asked a few minutes before. I wonder what will happen if somebody's catching a dogman or Bigfoot, or is the wolfman or the dogman the same? I heard Linda Moulton Howe talking about a story, and I think she referred to the wolfman, and he ran beside of a car and lurked into the window, and the driver shot it, and it fell on the ground, and then he drove for a while, and then he turned around to see if it's really dead. And when he came back, there was police already and some strange figures, and they seemed, I don't know, a little bit mad about this thing being shot. I don't know. I don't remember the story, but on Linda Moulton's How channel you can find it. So I don't know. Is Wolf?
Yeah,
I think she said Wolfman. Is Wolfman and Dogman the same, or?
they may. I think a lot. I think that particular genre is starting to like flesh itself out and find its like the different I guess evidence
Yeah.
and encounters. It's all starting to come together. Like I don't know. I've heard their government experiment going wrong.
Hmm.
Like they've seen them dogmen out at Skinwalker. It doesn't get me going as much as the other ones. Like I'll listen, like somebody says dogmen, oh, what are they saying, and then I'll move on. But yeah, it's also more violent. Like it's never just like you see one and you don't. It's always like I see one and it chased the car and killed our chickens.
Hmm.
Haven't seen our dog in months. That kind of thing. It's never peaceful.
Yeah.
No one ever leaves a dogman encounter like wanting to go get Waffle House or anything. It's always bad.
Yeah. I wonder what the government really knows about all these things, even
Mhm.
with the UFOs and stuff. So we have David Grush coming out with crazy stuff, man, saying that we found bodies and we found
Mhm.
vehicles. We have this and we have that, but he just heard from somebody that heard, and I don't know, it's starting to get a little bit frustrating, because there's no real proof. We only have all these cool stuff that he's talking about, but there's, like I said, there's no proof, no nuts and bolts here. And we already had that. People go crazy when I say that. When I say, yeah, we had Bob Lazar, we had other whistleblowers coming out
Mhm.
years before David Grush, and now that it's David Grush who was working for the government, everybody's going crazy. Oh, he's the
Mhm.
real deal and this and that. Yeah, Bob Lazar also came up with very crazy stuff. I don't know if there's some flesh to the bone, to be honest.
I don't know how. I really like the Bob Lazar thing because of his story seems the most legit because he hasn't been killed. But I've had a security clearance for a long time.
Yeah.
Like just like not like Bob Lazar's, his was crazy, but usually if you tell what you saw like that, you go to jail. Like you can't do that. That's the only part about these guys telling these tell all books. I'm like, you can't do that. That's illegal. And so I don't know if maybe letting them have their freedom is them trying to like invalidate. Because if you take Bob Lazar, put him in a sack, throw him in a van, and take him away, it means he was telling the truth. And I think that the Black Ops guys play by a different set of rules. The Black programs, I don't know. I think if the moment Bob Lazar came out and said it, if they just never found him again, they'd be like, oh. But if you let him prove himself incredulous, is that a word? Incredulous? If you start assaulting his character and make him seem kind of crazy, that's I'm not the first person to bring this up, but I do know from firsthand experience what happens when you possess that kind of clearance and you violate it. You don't get to just hang out and go on podcast. But at the same time, it may work differently with that particular kind of thing.
Yes, I agree with you.
And, mm-hmm.
Do you
But
have,
Hillary Clinton got to do twice as worse, and she got to run for president. So I don't know. It could just all be case by case.
everything is possible, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal UFO story to tell? Maybe an encounter or something like that?
You want to know something? Yes.
Yeah.
But not. It's not anything. It's going to sound kind of crazy, but there's a fellow that lives here just across in Georgia. His name's Les Durant, and he's big on the Stephen Greer stuff, the CE5.
Oh, CE5, yeah.
And yeah, he's a really cool dude. I'll have to hook you up. He's going to be. I'm planning on doing like other shows with him, like co-hosting and stuff, because he's only like 2 hours away. But he was telling me about how to make like in the night about the time it gets dark to concentrate and you can see stuff. And I've tried it before, and every time I do it, I see something less than a second, but I see it like 100% hand on the Bible. See it like it's not my eyes playing tricks. Like you know when you see a shooting star, and like, oh, what was that? I'll see that, but it's much quicker, and it's not a shooting star is burning out. When you see one, you know it's burning and it's disintegrating. But I'll see the flash like, and it's happened twice now in the last 2 or 3 months. And one happened last week. And I came back in, I messaged him and said, dude, I just did it.
How can you decide between the shooting star and yeah?
I can 100% say I saw something. Can't tell you what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying when I asked for it within seconds, it happened.
Okay.
What's the word? Causality doesn't equal, or
Yeah.
commonality doesn't equal causality. All
Yes.
I'm saying is, and I was like, you go out there and all you do is kind of just concentrate and stare at the skies and just kind of repeat yourself. That's how I do it. That's how I pray too. I just repeat myself and concentrate. I'm like, hey guys, give me a sign if you're there. Give me a sign if you're there. And like this, all of a sudden, within like 10 seconds.
Well, that's
But it wasn't
interesting.
like full on. It wasn't like I'm looking up and it happened in front of me. It happened to an angle in between two clouds. And there was an element that made it different than a shooting star. I can't describe it, but it was faster. It wasn't going down. It went across.
Mhm.
And it was like if you saw if you had like some stock video of UFOs going, it'd be like that. And I've done that twice.
What do you think is the connection between us wishing for them and they really appearing? So
Yeah,
it means we are connected somehow.
somehow I kind of think that like if you're open to it and have good intentions, they'll give you little clues. And I kind of think that I'm just good intent and open enough. They give me like little pinches of salt on my meal to satisfy it. And for me, it tells me like I'll get that. I'm like, oh, that was cool. I know that exists now. Shit.
Yeah.
Now, what am I going to go do with that? But at the same time, like angel numbers are big for me. Like I started noticing I get seen a certain number, and if I see a certain number enough times, I know something's going to happen that day, and I can't describe that either. And I've tested it several times, and it's always on the money.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Those things are wild.
I'm not into angel numbers, something like that. I'm not into
I wasn't either. I
but
was like, whoa.
there's certain numbers that appear all the time, like the 93. I have it tattooed on my throat, but it's not because of that. But the 93 appears all throughout the day for me. Like
Yeah,
I take a look at my cell phone
me.
at work, and it says 93% battery, something like that, or I don't know. It's crazy.
Same.
Yeah.
That's an angel number. I mean, that's basically what they are. Have you looked up what it meant? I mean, there's tons of websites about it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I did. And it started and the fact when it started happening, it replied like 100% to my situation. You'll take that 93 and sometimes you'll see like 93.1, 93.2.
Yeah.
And you look at what that means and it's like that plus something else. And you're like, man, it's weird.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the most woo-woo thing I got, but it's daggum, it's reliable. Like I try not to rely on it like financially, but I've tested it with stuff like, is this going to happen? And then I get those signs and I'm like, okay. And it does. It's effective. Like I've never been let down by them. Anytime I put my trust in them, it's always validated. Now, sometimes I don't put my trust in it because I don't want to risk it, but I've never been let down. Like lost a bet. I don't like gamble or anything based on it.
Yeah.
Should I go in here to this job interview? I'll get it.
I will see. I will go check and see what the 93 could mean. That's interesting. I need to check.
Surprised you haven't, because the way you described it is exactly what happens to me.
You know what? I'm a skeptic. I'm a complete skeptic when it comes to all that stuff. And I told the story a million times before, but you haven't heard it, so I will tell it again. I have seen since we talked about UFOs a few minutes ago, I've seen a UFO myself, and I was with two friends back then. And back then I was 16 years old. I was only 16. Now I'm 43. And it was 1996, and we have seen this. To make a long story short, we have seen this triangle-shaped, flying object in the sky with a light in the middle, and it just stood there, not moving at all. And suddenly, it make like a movement, like, and within a second, it moved so crazy fast, like a Z or something like that, and or like a flash. I don't know how you would describe it, but it moved so fast, and then it stood there again, like not moving at all. And then it made another movement from right to left, like, and then we ran away. Ran inside the house, closed the windows, closed the doors, closed everything. We didn't even look out the window anymore because we were so scared, man. And it was a triangle. It was a triangle.
You saw the classic.
Yeah. Some people call it TR3B or something like that. It was a triangle, and it was clear. It was bigger than a plane. If you when you see a plane flying by, it was much bigger than a plane. And yeah, we could see it was a triangle with a light in the middle. And I think this is what triggered my interest back then.
Hmm.
And I'm hooked
That's
since.
like a good claim to fame.
Yeah,
Everybody sees a triangle.
yeah, crazy. I'm not saying it was aliens. Maybe it was some weird
Totally aliens.
technology, or I don't know. But it was strange.
That's a big deal. That's a lot of people base their whole little career on this seeing one triangle.
Yeah,
There's several people. That's all they talk about. Is their one triangle sighting.
yeah. No, like I said, I try not to think about it too much because I don't know what it was. I will never find out what it was. So makes no sense breaking my head over it. But yeah, like I said, it was very interesting.
The best thing it could have been is just secret technology. That's the craziest part.
Yeah, it might have been secret technology. But what's strange is where I've seen it. It was, I told you before we started recording, I told you where I live. I live in a very small village, and I used to live there back then already. And it's like a 300 souls village, like only 300 people or so.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a little airport, a very, very little airport where these small airplanes start. And so no, not a big airport as you might know them. And I don't think something like that started there.
No,
I do not think it started there.
not doing that.
No, not doing that.
Not the zigzag.
Many years later, many years after that encounter, somebody contacted me, and I had this podcast already. Somebody called me and said, "Hey, I live 30 or 40 minutes from where you at, and in the summer of '96, I have seen the same thing, like close to your location."
Mm-hmm.
And I think, wow, I said, wow, that's great, man. Maybe we have seen the same object. Interesting. And he described the same thing, a triangle with a light in the middle. That was very cool to hear. Yeah.
There is a lot of USA military ops over there, so you never know.
Yeah. You never know.
NATO,
NATO, yeah.
or it was aliens.
Or it was aliens.
My,
Like I said, everything is possible, man. I really don't know. I'm a skeptic, but I think everything is possible. I'm open for every theory. I'm open for the aliens and open for the multidimensional stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Multiverse, everything is possible.
I get really skeptical on the abduction stories if they get too crazy.
Let me interrupt you right here. I'm sorry. I was the same many years back. I was the same. And I was not interested at all in all these abduction stories because a lot of them sounded very, very strange. Let's put it this way to me.
Doesn't apply to Calvin Parker. I believe him.
Since I talked to him, I do believe his story. Yeah. Since I talked to him from face to face, I believe him. He's he's a cool guy. And the way he presented his story, I think I believe him. But I heard
Have you heard the
Yeah, go on.
So have you heard the part 2 to that? How the lady came forward years later saying she saw the same light from down the river?
Yeah.
That was wild. That was like, oh my gosh, that's validation there.
Yeah. Have you heard about the case in Ruwa, Zimbabwe? It's a very famous UFO case.
Oh, the kids?
The Ariel school incident, yeah.
Yeah.
I've met one of these kids. I've met him at a convention. His name is Francis. And I've talked to him about the encounter. He's a grown man now, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me everything he remembered about this case. And I talked to him, like I said, face to face. We had a few beers together. And we talked, and he told me the story. And after that, I said, I do believe this man. I don't know, man. I you have to believe him.
I definitely believe it happened.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something funny about that case, though. When you read it, like what happened, you know what happened? Like it happened outside the school. They all run out. Ooh. And he's like, eat your vegetables, kids. And he hauls ass. And he's like, save the planet. That's what it's. Have you ever seen like movies like where somebody's robbing a house and a kid sees it or robbing somebody and the burglar's like empathetic to the child? So he's like, never do this, kid. Stay in school.
Yes.
And gives him like a piece of candy or something. He gives the kid like a stack of bills. That's what it was like. It's
Yeah.
like, save your planet, kids. Get the, and he's like an international criminal, intergalactic criminal on the run that crashed and stole a car. That's what it reminds me of. I'm telling you, when you read it and take out the whole, because they try to kind of hand jam some environmental stuff into it a little bit, but it sounds like just like the Kevin Costner movie where he like got shot after he kidnapped a kid and he befriended him. Like, you'll stay in school, don't eat your vegetables.
But if you think about it, it's I don't know. It seems logical, because
It is. It's very logical.
if you're a alien being trying to save this fucking planet from
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything that happens here, whom do you talk to? You don't go to the White House and tell the president or the presidents from other countries
Yeah.
who are raging war against each other. You're not telling them, please don't destroy the planet and please don't do this and don't do that. You go to the youngest ones and try to educate them, leave an impression on them, and they remembered for throughout their life what happened to them, and they remembered the message. So it makes perfectly sense to me, even though it sounds funny.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It just the way it reads kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
Like a little kid walks down and sees Santa Claus. Like, go back to bed. Shut up.
Because you said Santa Claus, I talked to this guy who is from Germany here. He was on my podcast, and he's this big but very shy guy. He's like, his voice like, well. And he said, I have a story to tell. And it was when I was a kid I think he was 7 years old. His parents sent him outside to bring the trash outside to the big trash can in front of the house. And he said, you never believe what happened. Please don't laugh, he said, I saw Santa Claus standing in front of the big trash can. And he was just standing there with a strange look on his face. And then he pointed to the sky. And I was looking to the sky, and in the sky, I saw a ball of light. And this ball of light moved a little bit, and then it separated and became two balls of light. And then I think it went back together into one ball of light. I don't know. And from that day on, he started to have encounters. He got visits in his bedroom from strange beings. Like he said one time it was penguins. He said, man, I know it sounds funny, but I was a kid back then. It was penguins. And the older he got, the more they changed into, in the end, they were gray aliens standing around his bed. You know what? And I said, man, your story is very funny, because he talked about other fantasy beings too. He's seen like deers, like from a Disney movie, or like fantasy figures. And in the end, it was only gray aliens for many years. And I said, maybe because you were a kid, they shown themselves as these non-threatening, like
spoon-fed it a little.
Yeah, spoon-fed him a little bit. Like didn't want to scare him. I don't know if something like that could be real, but this is what he told me, and it was a very interesting story. Yeah,
it's so few and far between that it sounds crazy, but you never know how many times they've tried to do it.
Yeah,
and it's never took. Like, you didn't see Santa Claus by the trash can. Get in here. Or the kid runs away.
Yeah.
I know I'd run away if I saw Santa Claus by the trash can.
I never liked Santa Claus.
To death. I used to be scared to death of Santa Claus.
I never liked this guy. Before we end this here, what is your opinion on the cattle mutilations?
That's Millab. That's military stuff.
Really?
I just don't. Preston Dennis think it is too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's what he kind of taught me into that. Preston, you've had him on, right? Have you talked to Preston?
Yes.
On your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I couldn't remember but yeah, he was his Millab theory really opens your eyes to some stuff. Like, the bad stuff is the government trying to experiment what they can do. And yeah, but I think it could definitely be aliens. I mean, but the way that it happens, like, why would an alien do that to a cow? unless they took it up and did it and sent it back down. I don't know why they would go around shooting them with the laser.
But you know what?
They'd already test their equipment. The military is one that would test it on cattle.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting theory. But I think we have a German researcher, and I think he might be the only one here in Germany who is dealing with this kind of topic. And he said there's also cases in Germany where that happened. And he talked about these cows. You know it. There's no blood around this cow.
Mhm.
There's no blood inside these cows or these cattle, and sometimes there's a few droplets of blood left in one of the heart chambers, but there's no stress hormones in this blood.
Mhm.
So that means they didn't see it coming, because if a cow senses danger, it runs away, and there's body is producing stress hormones, but there's no stress hormones in this blood, and this is crazy. And sometimes the organs are missing, you know that. And this guy said they found a very small hole in the hoof of the cow, and no other holes in the body. A very small hole in the hoof of the cow, but there were no organs inside. So he said he think that the organs must have been taken out through this little hole. I don't know how this could be possible.
Yeah, I've heard about the whole thing too. Like, is it like they're clandestine, or I don't know, like a dissection, like the what's the Egyptians with the nose thing, but much more technologically advanced, of course.
Or maybe something was injected into this cow, and the organs, they somehow disintegrated or something like that, or turned into liquid and was sucked out, or I don't know. Man, I really don't know. But it's strange with these cattle mutilations. Very strange. They always take the cheeks, the flesh from the cheeks and the tongue and the eyes, or the genitals. And I don't know what you're gonna do with this stuff.
It's what screams government, is because, like, why would they do it? What's the alien going to do with it?
Yeah.
Unless it's just like a science experiment they practice on.
Strange. High strangeness, man. High strangeness. But
it is, and it's all linked together. It all seems to be dominoes that fall on each other when you start looking into it.
Yes. It was a great talk, Bob. Thank you for that.
It really was
interesting.
Really was.
And I hope we can do this again.
Yeah. I'll send some people your way. You need to talk to Les Durant, though. He's a good one. The CE5 guy. He's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
I'm telling you, when I start doing that out there talking to the sky, it feels weird, but it always happens within the first minute or not at all. Like, you'll see something. I don't know. Maybe they triggered the shooting star. It may just be coincidence, but I don't remember shooting stars being that frequent.
Yes.
There's just like one a night, maybe.
I will have a look into that too.
But that one I saw the other night, that was the craziest one. Like, if I had to put all my chips on one of those, I've only done it like 3 times, but that one was crazy. That one was in between 2 clouds, like a flash, and it wasn't like burning out. It was brighter than usual.
Who knows what's out there, man?
It looked like when the Enterprise goes and bursts away, kind of thing.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's end it right here, Bob. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. People, the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast. Not only the Cryptid podcast, the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast. It's available on Spotify. Are you on YouTube too, Bob?
Yeah. BobbyDizzle.com on my little right here like you can see my mouse, but on the bottom of my thing there, BobbyDizzle.com. You see it. Yeah. Everything's there.
Yeah, I will put a link in the description, Bob.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, but I'm on all the things on 4 or 5 podcast apps I've never heard of. I'm like, when did I get put on that? I just link you up. Okay, but yeah, that's it. BobbyDizzle.com.
BobbyDizzle.com. Okay, Bob. Please stay with me for 2 more minutes. Okay.
All right.